Hello, how are you doing? Nice to see you again. Nice to see you. Are you well? I hope you're well. Okay, good, good. Are you taking a seat? Are you going to sit down? All right, okay. So make yourself comfortable. Hopefully you got yourself a drink, nice cup of tea, and get all relaxed. Tune your ears in to my voice. And I just want to say you're looking well. I'm glad you're here. If we just jump straight into it, what I was going to discuss this week, as you probably know because you looked at the description, was kind of like the psychology of music. Now, we talk about music a lot. People love music a lot. But I've not really stopped to think much about music in the past. I don't know if you have. Have you? Have you thought about the psychology of it? Well, it occurred to me recently, after reading something, that there's a whole lot of stuff going on there behind the scenes and in our history. And not just my history, but your history and evolution of music. So make yourself comfortable, get yourself some biscuits, get yourself a nice drink, and let's dive in. Let's jump into the this episode. All right, I do have some notes, so hopefully you won't hear me rattling the paper. And I'm in my mobile studio, shall we say, with all the material around to deaden any sound around and outside. So this is purposely done. If you're watching on YouTube, this is purposely done to mitigate the acoustics with where I am. All right, so you can probably see in my glasses as well the reflection of the light. I got a bright light at me to give me good quality video. Right, anyway, so for those of you listening on the podcast, and for those that don't know, I'm now on Spotify and YouTube Podcast and Apple Podcast and all the big names out there, for podcasting. So I've forked out the money and I subscribe to that platform. And this one's called Podbean. I researched it for a while, but it's quite interesting. It's quite good. Maybe I'll do a video on it next time. So yeah, if you want to look for me to have an app on your phone or something like that whilst you're having your commute to work, or whether you're just sat on the train or whatever, you can have me in your pocket on an app. There we go. Podbean. And of course, you know my name, English Podcast with Paul. Right, we've digressed a little bit. But that's part of normal, natural conversation. And as you know, this is unscripted, so I'm not reading from a script. You'll see me scratch my nose or flick my hair or cough or sneeze. And it's unedited. All right. Sometimes, though, the podcast will get interrupted and I'll have to stop it and then cut it and put it back together. But it's not edited for any, I don't know, animations or gizmos or cutting out the ums and ahs, because that's part of normal, natural conversation. Some people just haven't practiced or haven't learned how to be comfortable with a pause. Now, there's pregnant pause and regular pause. Even if you listen to wealthy people or royalty and aristocracy, they speak very slowly and pause a lot. And they hold the room with that much respect. So in true authenticity, I'm going to allow my ums and ahs in here, and I'm not using the AI software that comes with Podbean or any other subscription to cut out my ums and ahs and ums and oh, I don't know, and stupid parts like that, because this is natural, normal conversation. Right, like I said, I digressed way too much. All right, let's dive into it, because I was really struck at how interesting this was and how deep of a rabbit hole you can go. Now, so for those of you who don't know, a rabbit hole is what it is. It's a hole that rabbits live in. But it's used as a metaphor because of how deep and how it can disappear into different directions and you can get lost in it. That's kind of the whole point of the metaphor, is you can get lost because it's so deep and disappearing here this way and that way, and unless you were a rabbit and lived there, you wouldn't know where you're going next. And that can be the same for a conversation or a topic, whether you wanted to talk about string theory, brain surgery, and neuroscientific stuff, or even something as what seems normal as music. So when I was looking into music, there was kind of lots of different aspects and avenues I could have ventured down. There's not massive amounts of studies actually on music, but I was thinking about the psychology of music and how it affects us and other mammals. Now, I don't know if you've seen these Instagram reels or YouTube videos where somebody is playing an instrument in a field, and whether it's cows or goats or whatever the mammal is, they seem to look like they're gathering around and listening to the music. Especially if it's, I'm going to say it now, especially if it's orchestral music, like a woodwind or something like that, something big with a bit of bass to it. The animals all sort of gather round and just stay and listen. And there's lots of other videos that have similar things happening where animals come just to gather around and listen. And I think that's amazing. And I wonder what... Have you heard... So I'll go off on a tangent now. Have you heard the saying... Trying not to lose the thought. I've lost the thought now. See, this is natural. This is natural and normal conversation. Especially when you get to my age. You tend to lose the thread of your conversation a little bit. But then it suddenly comes back round again. So it makes you seem wise and full of wisdom because you circle back round to it when your brain finally catches up and you remember what you were talking about. In the meantime, you just fill that gap with other stuff. Okay. So the animals really coming together and enjoying the music is really quite interesting, whether they're doing it to be around you or whether they're doing it to be around the bass or this thing that's putting out the music. So if you've ever heard of the phrase, when a tree falls in the woods, does it still make a noise? Now, my answer to that is, if a tree falls in the woods, does it still make a noise? My answer is that a tree that falls is making vibrations through movement of wind and pressure movement of the wind as the forces move around. And so it's a vibration, and it's only our brains that interpret this vibration into sound. It's our eardrum that turn it into words that we acknowledge and recognize over thousands and thousands of years of evolution. So other animals may not hear a tree falling in the woods, but they may feel the vibration. And I feel sometimes that's kind of the same for the animals that are gathering around listening to somebody play music. Whether it's a piano or a big woodwind instrument, they're feeling the vibration, and I'm assuming they must like that vibration. Maybe it's soothing. Talking of soothing, that moves me on to a study that I read, because obviously I did a little bit of research when I investigated this topic. And there is research to show that country and western and easy listening music can really settle down and encourage a herd of cows to come in for milking. Now, whether that's like Pavlov's dog and they're just accustomed to the ringing of the bell, i.e. the cowboy country and western music, being cue for them to come in to alleviate the pressures of milk build up in them, is very difficult to prove or deny. So anyway, that was one study, and I thought that was extremely interesting. They also say that dogs and cats can enjoy music. Often you'll see cats getting angry or fed up or lashing out when somebody plays maybe a piano. And I thought that's interesting. Are they annoyed with it? Do they not want you to do it? Do they not like that high pitch parts of the piano? I don't know. Okay. I want to talk about the geography of music as well, because depending on whereabouts you are in the world, depends a lot on the style of music. Now, the UK has a reputation of having amazing music. And like a lot of countries, we've evolved over decades and our music has changed a lot. I can't say I enjoy a lot of the current music, but there we go. And so obviously, if you go to some of these countries that have a more tribal ancestry roots connected to their music or their current music, you might be looking at, say, I don't know, Mongolia or parts of Asia. Let's say parts of Asia. They tend to have a more rhythmic and musical base, with the drums and the movement and dance. That feels very tribal and very natural and still very much connected to their heritage. But if you go somewhere much more Western and maybe much more modern, such as America, the UK, Germany, France, a lot of this music seems to be much more progressive with electronics and other supporting aids and reoccurring electronic beats and samples of other music. And so it's very, very different to that of Eastern tribal music. I can't say that one's better than the other. One is obviously more connected to their ancestry than the other, I'd imagine. But it's very interesting, that geography and how it connects to people's music. And people that have travelled the world and gone off travelling a lot will say this, about hearing different music from different countries is radically different. But also sharing a lot of similarities, as I mentioned, in regards to the warmth and the rhythmicness of the music and the raw music often being the vital ingredient, being connected to maybe the vibrations in that vicinity, in that room. Maybe that's why we love live music so much. We want to have a copy of it on CD or vinyl or digital download. But it's still not the same as being in the room with that live instrument and those people, especially in between the songs. I recently went to a gig and it was a couple of guys that I'd seen 25 years ago. It was called the Levelers. So I saw them 25 years ago in Plymouth when I was a youngish man. And the bit in between the songs, they have laugh and banter. And they connect with the audience. They might point out something the audience is wearing or the audience is doing. They share stories of going like from one gig to the next gig, or about their other bandmates, and laugh and joke about it. And so you feel like you're getting to know these people. All right, as you get more and more corporate, these talking in between is more and more, I don't know, repetitive and the same old story. But that there in the moment when you're in this small environment really feels like you're getting to know these people and you're sharing a smile. You're sharing a moment. You're sharing that amazing moment of people just jumping around for joy and dancing to this music and just the love of like a crescendo, where the music gets boom, 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 boom. Just gets faster and faster and faster, and it builds, and the whole room is jumping of excitement and elevatedness. And then afterwards, when it finishes, and you're all round of applause and excited and happy, and then they talk about the next song, and so you have these highs and lows of energy and excitement that make you feel connected to the whole of the room. Everybody in that audience, we all shared that. Much like people that are connected that share a trauma, like people in a plane accident or people in some other big scenarios where maybe a hostage situation, you feel much more connected. And there's also, let me see if I can remember it now. There's a syndrome named after a hostage situation where the hostages become connected and like their captors. Um, Tell me down in the comments if you remember. I think, my brain is caught up. I think it's called Stockholm Syndrome, after a hostage, I guess, that happened in Stockholm. So the identity of the group, of the room, becomes connected. And I imagine that also is on purposely architecture, purposely orchestrated. That's the word I wanted, orchestrated, to replicate that of tribal music, that of bringing the tribe together, whether it's tribal games and the highs and lows of a trauma bringing people together, or whether it's just the gathering around the fire of all generations and that kind of tribal music. It's a very interesting psychology. If you was to break it down and you're able to have studies about it, it's very clever, it's very interesting, it's very natural and organic, it connects so many of us. And then moving on now, I'd like to talk about the evolution of our own preferences when it comes to music. When I was a young man, I was very much into rock and roll and angry, rebellious kind of music, punk music, rock music, and that kind of against the establishment. But as I've got older, I've enjoyed more kind of tribal music with instruments, where you see somebody playing a guitar and you hear the drums and you feel the bass. As I've got older, I've enjoyed the music instrument side of it. Now, I'm tone deaf. I can't play an instrument, and I admire those that do play instruments. I love it. Now, maybe this is Stockholm Syndrome again, but when I've heard a woman singing in a band or an acoustic set, that there's just the music with very little microphones or very little amplification, and you hear that voice of a woman, well, for me, it's been very angelic. I've thought, I'm in love with this woman. Her voice is just like an angel. Wow. And I want to love her. I want to hug this woman. I want to give her my money and spend time with this woman because she seems like an angel. And I'm wrapped up and what's the word? I'm just in awe and inspired and connected with this woman that I don't know. I don't really know her. She's just singing a song, but I'm taken away to another world where we're cuddling up on the beach, and it's like, whew. There seems to be a lot of feelings connected to sound and music, and I wonder whether that's going back to the tribal sense. So, my evolution of music now, and I find myself sometimes listening to classical music. Although be it connected to maybe an old TV advert that adds a level of nostalgia, whether it's connected to something that's good and prosperous and wholesome. But I often find myself listening to a little bit of classical music to soothe and calm and relax. And so it feels like even classical music from the 1800s and before has that orchestrated emotion embedded in it to rival you up with some classical music, or soothe and calm you down like other classical music. Well, it's obviously orchestrated on purpose to be that way, to invigorate your emotions and set you on a roller coaster, which is fabulous. It's brilliant. The way they do it, it's brilliant. Now, I'm also not disliking of some dance music. There's some really big famous artists out there that I like, that have done well. And often it's because there's a crescendo. There's a feeling that builds slowly. And then eventually there's the mic drop. There's the beat drop or whatever you want to call it. And then everybody's energized and it moves and it goes all over again. And especially if there's a story wrapped up in it, it just really connects you. And so just buying it and putting it on a really good speaker with lots of bass and, so you feel you can hear and feel the music. Excuse me, a little dry in here. Is really exciting and invigorating to love that music. And I don't listen to enough music. Young people seem to listen to a lot of music to connect them. But I feel it connects them from reality of the day-to-day life of normality and boredom and just being in life. So I think there's a balance to be made there of enjoying music as and when your body and your brain and your mind needs it, but not to be wrapped up in it 24/7, to be a complete distraction from the rest of the world. Okay, moving on to the last part now. I wanted to talk about mental health and music. A lot of my videos center around mental health because it's a connection with people and it's something that we all are aware of, and it connects us all. It doesn't matter whether you're aristocracy and a billionaire or whether you're poor and you're living on the streets. Mental health and our mental well-being connects us all. Now, when you put music in that mix, it's very interesting that we can find or we can seek out the kind of music that soothes us. And it's interesting that a lot of stories that are told in music that cover some of these topics can really resonate and connect with us. So, for example, I really like 113.Pilots, and there's a song on I think their first album, and it's the guy. There's a number of songs, but the particular song I'm talking about is where the guy has had his car radio stolen, and how he although he raps and he speaks, you can understand the story and you can relate. He's had we've all had something stolen in the past, but having your car radio stolen, having to listen to that silence, he's feel all boxed in, and he sends us on a roller coaster of emotions, and we feel, especially if you watch the video, that you can connect with him and feel his emotions. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm feeling down and I listen to something like that, I think, yes, you understand me. I'm not on my own. I'm not the only one. I feel the same. And likewise, when I'm feeling quite happy and I happen to seek out or happen to hear a really positive song, like Electric Light Orchestra and Mr. Sunshine, Where Have You Gone, Where Have You Been? Again, that's with a big crescendo and a roller coaster, and it builds and builds and builds. And you're thinking, yes, this blue sky, whether that's a metaphor or whether it's reality of a blue sky, or where have you been? It's been so long, we've missed you. Again, it can really cheer me up and make me feel great and make me feel alive and happy. So there's a massive connection between music and mental well-being. And I don't think we investigate it enough, or at least I don't investigate it enough, because there's a lot to be said for helping you stay less disconnected. We're in a world now with the internet where we hear all of the disasters and crisis around the whole globe, and it kind of feels like we've got all these senses coming in, and we've got this small box to feel and deal with all this drama and all the stuff that's going on around the world. And I know the news reports more negativity than it does positivity. And so it's so easy to feel like the world is a bad, horrible place. And if you're selling life insurance, accident insurance, CCTV, or voting for legislation to have more rules imposed upon you, then it's in the government's best interest, or in these people's best interest, to sell you stuff if you feel the world is a bad, scary, horrible, dangerous, awful place. But it's really, really easy to take it out of context with the scope and the size of the world. Just as I was mentioning about all the different countries, and all the geography of all the different places that have their own tribal music, their own essence that they put across, and bringing together. The internet kind of squishes that, and it's very, it doesn't balance out all the positive, happy, great, amazing stuff out there, and all the other people that are going through the roller coaster of feeling the same emotions that you're feeling. So although the internet is great for connecting people, excuse me, we have to remember to make the effort ourselves to connect, not just with music and the sunshine, but the other tribes and other people. All right? Even if you're just saying hellos to somebody walking their dog and you ask if you can stroke their dog. Just that connection of stroking a dog, that releases endorphins within your own body, with your own chemistry, because you've touched an animal. You could stroke a horse or a cow, a cat. It does the same thing. But better than that is to hug somebody, to hug a friend, even to hug a stranger. But to hug somebody releases lots and lots of endorphins that make you feel good. Now, we should be aiming to do that on a daily basis, really. To balance out the negativity in the world. Having those endorphins and that balance of happiness and positiveness. And just take a moment to remember that the world is actually a beautiful, amazing, great place. Even with nature and the earth grounding ourselves. The world is an amazing place, and we've just got to let go of that negativity that we see on the news. And like I said, music is an amazing thing. We have our own geographical area, we have our own evolution, we have our own mental health, and connecting with people that like the same music is all very positive to help us with our mood and with our lifestyle and being happy. And I found that I thrive most around creative people because they've just got an energy of positivity and connection. And so that's what I found out this weekend. That's where it comes back to. This weekend where I met the Levelers, listened to their music. It reminded me of nostalgia of when I was young. And just that whole energy and ambience of that room connecting and having great fun. And then even afterwards, when they'd finished, the wind down and the greets and the talking to other people, and I made connections with other people. It was amazing. It was brilliant. And I'm going to seek that out again, maybe in a fortnight's time. So that's it for this week. I just wanted to wrap up the importance of music and connection. And I hope you enjoyed it too. If you've got some stories about music, connection, and travel, put them down in the comments below. I'll reach out to as many people as I can. But that's it for this week. Do enjoy your music, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.